Hi there, I'm Will Ferrell.
Hello and welcome to episode
Something.
417 of the Filmmakers Podcast. This is a podcast where we talk
Filmmaking.
from indie film to studio films to high-end TV and
In this case, documentaries.
everything in between. How to get them made, how to make them, and how to try not to,
Royally F them up.
in our very, very...
Humble opinion.
Welcome to the show. Thank you very much for listening. How are you doing? Hope you're all right. I'm Giles Alderson.
I'm Dom Lenoir.
We are both writer-directors and producers, and between us we've made various films over our time, in case you didn't know. We have promoted them many times. If you really do want to check it out, then check it out on our website. But for now, we are delighted to welcome onto the show returning guest. It is the brilliant director
Josh Greenbaum.
Woohoo! He's
Yeah.
back to talk about his documentary, Will and Harper. He was on episode 355 talking about The Strays, which was his... I loved it. Me and Dom loved this when
Oh,
we
yeah.
watched it. So much fun. Talking dogs. Hilarious.
I mean, ridiculously funny film and funny episode as well.
Yeah, really funny. He's a nice guy. Really lovely guy. I wasn't there for this one. Dom sat down with Josh, but in person this time. Which must be nice to meet him, to talk about Will and Harper. How was it? How was the chat?
Well, I mean, the chat was nice, but the preamble before the chat was even more nice. One might argue, because so there was one of those nice little industry screenings at the Ham Yard, which is very good because they
your
have
favourite, one of your faves.
Because they always give you canapes, which is pretty nice.
It's a fave because they give you canapes.
Yeah. So went in there and I was like, okay, yeah, we're seeing the film. And then we got the interview tomorrow, and I was like, okay, maybe I'll say hello to Josh. I had a little bit of trepidation because we made a lot of jokes, a lot of puns on the last thing. Like it was hundreds, probably one of the most punny ones we've ever had.
It's punny as hell. And it was online as well, so we didn't get to meet in person. And sometimes when you're just looking at a screen and he's done 10 others that day.
Yep.
So you went up to him.
Yeah. So I went up to him. I was like, easy. Maybe he's just going to be like, oh, it's that guy. Maybe he won't remember me. Maybe he's just going to be, oh, that's that guy that made all the jokes last time. But he just recognised me, and he was like, oh, Dom. Oh. And it was like it was a fond reunion for sure.
Like old friends.
And nice. And we had a lovely chat. And then Andrew Garfield sort of comes over as he does, who happens to be a friend of Josh, and it was a very nice sort of welcoming. Had a nice chat with Andrew, and had a nice chat with Josh. And the thing is about Josh that I sort of immediately clocked on, so I was like, let's get a nice picture by the billboard today rather than at the interview, because we've got a nice thing. He's just such a welcoming guy. There's not like, oh, okay, and I'm busy or I'm talking to other people. He was there from the start of the thing. He was there before the screening, and he stayed there even when like everyone was thinning out. Like after the after reception, like most people had left. He was staying there to talk to people. I had another chat with him afterwards. He's just like genuinely like one of the most down to earth, friendly, welcoming, open people we've ever had on the podcast. In the words of Will Ferrell, I would like to say that Josh is my boy. So.
Oh, I like that.
Maybe not blue,
That's
but
cool.
he's my boy. Yeah.
He's your boy. Big question though. Did he ask about me?
I think the joke that was made was like, oh, I was like, I'm afraid Giles isn't here for the podcast. I think the joke was like, we don't need.
And it's true.
We don't need Giles, but it was in good jest, and then it was like, obviously, it'll be a shame not to have Giles.
Sure.
But then he did remember you as well, and he remembered having a lovely time on the podcast, as we both did, and we had a very genuine chat the next day on the the episode as well, and it was just a lovely time, and I do think very highly of Josh, and we had a bonding experience for sure.
That's nice. Let's tell our audience what Will and Harper is about. It's a documentary directed by Josh Greenbaum. It's about 3 years ago. Will Ferrell, who was filming a movie when he received an email. His dear friend of nearly 30 years was coming out to him as a trans woman. Like we said before, this was Harper Steele, a writer he met on the first day at Saturday Night Live back in 1995. And Will, at that point, knew he'd found a match made in comedy heaven, and their friendship and creative partnership would only continue to grow over the next 3 decades. And it's an intimate, honest, and heartfelt documentary. It has been in cinemas. It's on Netflix now. I highly recommend you watch this movie. Dom, tell us what you and the lovely Josh chatted about. What will our audience garner from this?
Well, garner, first of all, just why Josh is great with actors. And, just to say off the bat, we don't do many documentaries on the podcast, but this, to me, felt almost like watching a road movie drama because of the way it had been crafted. There was, we talked about his visual language that he did, which was very much to complement the internal journeys of the actors. But also some of the other processes around creating an environment where people could thrive and be themselves. We did talk about documentaries as well, but it was from the perspective. I mean, as I said, the visual and the music side of things as well were put together to create a film that felt like a film. But the journey as well, it's Harper going back across all these different places, that she visited when she was a guy, throughout her life. Some of them are welcoming, some of them are less welcoming. Doesn't even feel like a documentary at times. It does feel like a an internal journey of discovery.
Great. So that's coming up for you on this week's episode of the Filmmakers Podcast. Yep. I have made 3 documentaries now.
Whoa.
2 have been released, and the third one is coming out very soon. We're about to announce it. We'll talk about this at the end, I think, after the chat. But it is interesting, the difference between making documentaries and features or scripted.
It is, yeah.
There's a huge difference. Some other amazing documentary filmmakers we've had on the podcast over the years include Roger Nygaard, whose book Cut to the Monkey is fantastic, by the way. He's worked on The Office, Grey's Anatomy, Curb Your Enthusiasm, and many, many documentaries as well. And then also we've had American Meme documentary director Bert Marcus on the podcast as well. So if you do want to listen to more documentary filmmaking afterwards, after this one, if that's your bag, then seek them out on the filmmakerspodcast.com. Go to the podcast page, and then in the search bar there type documentaries, and they will come up for you. Yeah. Right, let's talk more documentaries after me and you making them, after you've chatted to Josh Greenbaum. Sound good?
Sounds good.
Right, here's the trailer, and after that, Dom and Josh talking Will and Harper.
I'm Will Ferrell, one of the greatest actors in the world. A long time ago, back when I was at Saturday Night Live, I met a guy who was hired as a writer the same week I was hired. He wrote a bunch of sketches for me and eventually became the head writer of SNL. And over the years, he became one of my closest friends. And then one day, I got this email. Hey, Will, something I need you to know. I'll be transitioning to live as a woman.
I don't doubt that Will is my friend, but I'm not Andrew Steele anymore.
It was just, whoa.
I love this country so much, I just don't know if it loves me back right now.
Harper, would you want to do a road trip as this new version of yourself, and at the same time, figure out what this all means to us?
Do you recognize this guy? This is a Hollywood movie star.
No.
You
No,
recognize
you don't
him?
reckon? Okay, that's okay. Roll up the window.
Were you a little worried about how to talk to me when I came out to you?
Yeah, probably a little nervous.
There are no ground rules with friends, I'm telling you. I invite any friend of mine, ask me these questions. I am not afraid to talk about them.
Here's a question. Do you think you're a worse driver as a female driver?
That's the dumbest. That is so, no, that is so, oh, fuck you.
Zing!
But I am.
Woo!
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. This is my friend Harper.
How you doing?
Nice to meet you, bro.
Hey, not a bro,
She.
though. It's a she, but that's okay.
Sorry.
This is probably around the age where I started to feel just kind of weird.
Yeah.
to come out to these kind of places before, and then I transitioned and I got a little afraid. You know what I'm saying? Enjoy it. Come out.
I'm not really afraid of these people. I'm afraid of hating myself. All I want to do is live.
Oh, Dunkin' Donuts.
No.
We've not done one fun thing. Name one fun thing we've done.
Stuck inside the spring, so the connection wasn't making on the battery.
All right.
Anyway.
We're up and going.
Join us.
Great.
Okay. So, yeah, Josh, delighted to have you back on the Filmmakers Podcast.
Lovely to see you, Dom.
Yeah, I was very pleased that you actually recognised me at the Ham Yard event yesterday.
That's the benefit of doing interviews via Zoom.
Yes,
It's like, I know that face. Yeah.
And also because last time I did make millions and millions of puns
Correct.
About dogs for strays, which we had tons of fun on. But today we're slightly less fun vibes because it's just me and you. There's no Giles as we quipped yesterday. But it's it's an amazing film. I mean, it was such an experience to watch Will and Harper in the cinema yesterday, and the reception from everyone was absolutely incredible. I mean, how are you feeling about everything and the release and how people are receiving it?
Yeah, it's wild. I mean, you make a film in a dark room, kind of by yourself with your editor, with a few people, and you hope the movie that you're watching and you have in your head and your heart is received in the way that you hope it will be received. And there's some little part of you that never knows. And so to take it out into the world the way we have the past few weeks and get to see audiences watch it on the big screen together in a communal experience has been just a total joy. And to see people are really connecting with it is uplifting. I think probably my favorite moments have been at the end of the film when we get to walk out on stage, and we always save Harper the best for last, and Harper comes out, and pretty much every screening we've had, there is a standing ovation for her, and she is just showered with both she and Will are showered with all of the love that I think they both really deserve for being the people they are, for doing this project, for being brave and open and vulnerable and all the things that they are in this film. It's just sort of a reaffirmation of, I think, humanity and our shared experience that is very, it's really encouraging to me. As a filmmaker, but also just as a human being.
Yeah, I mean, just on that, I mean, like I really enjoyed like seeing everyone at the event, and I think one of the things I really liked about interviewing you before and meeting you again is that you're like a very down to earth guy, and
that's what you think, Dom. It's just a performance. No, I appreciate that.
But I mean, because sometimes it's you go to these things, and it's like an industry event, and it's like there's the stars, and then there's the the press or the audience, and it's all like separate, and it's not about the connection, and really like we're all here to experience something deeply human.
Yeah.
And I think one of the things that like inspires me most, as well as the work, is like how people are, and you've come across as someone that's like very genuine, very welcoming, and I can kind of see like how you got into the film and the documentary and got these kind of natural, honest performances, because I think as a director you've got a bit of that sort of going on as well.
Yeah, I appreciate all of that. That's very, very kind, and I will also relay that to my mom, who will be very proud for you to hear that.
Yeah, Mum's done well.
Mum's
done well. Shout out to our mums.
Yes, always shout out to moms. I really appreciate that, and I think I always feel, especially in documentary specifically, the relationship you're watching on screen is often one between the filmmaker and the subject.
Yeah.
In this case, it's unique in that there's a central relationship on screen that is much more important than the relationship between myself and the subjects. Obviously, between Will and Harper, but to that extent, I've always felt like it's important that my subjects in my film, in this case, people who happen to were friends of mine before we even made the project, which is something else we can get into, because I've never had that. It's the first time I've known my subjects before making the film. There's a level of there's a level of trust that was already there, which helped a lot. But I do see it as my job in a lot of ways to create a space and empower my subjects to feel safe in telling their story in the most authentic way that they can. It's sort of how I've lots of parts of my job as a documentary filmmaker when I'm working in documentary of like, okay, what is it that I do? But I think at the top of that list is just empowering people to tell their stories, hopefully in the most impactful way that I and they can. But to your point, I think people are much more willing and open to sharing when they feel seen and heard and respected. Just like when you're not making a film, when you're just talking to someone, they're much more likely to be themselves and feel safe and open up and form a bond. When you are, making sure that they feel seen and heard and respected. So I try to do it, I guess, both behind the camera and then when I'm not working.
Yeah. And then that obviously reflects back into the performances for sure. Yeah. I mean, it's interesting what you sort of said there about because I mean, in a way, you're almost like the interpreter. Like you're looking at these. You're first of all, you are creating the space for it all to be able to, this environment that they can flourish. Yeah. But then you're also, because it feels like a very lean, tight story. But then when we hear about how much you shot, that you obviously had to find the core of the story in that. Yeah, that's right. So I mean, how did the narrative sort of structure and that side and like finding what the beats of the story sort of, how did that process sort of begin for you? Yeah, a little bit beforehand, but the bulk of that process is, as you might imagine, in editing, in post. So we had over 240 hours of footage, which is a lot. We filmed nonstop for 17 days straight, pretty much, and so you start and I'm always like trying to hear what the film is telling you that it wants to be, which is, it sounds a little bit heady, but it's true. I think that like, if you're honest and you're listening, and present, both in the shoot and then through the footage, you can start to feel out, oh, this is what it wants to be. And if you ever try to force it and shift, push it in a direction that doesn't want to go, that's where I think you can lose the authenticity, you can lose audiences, and all of a sudden it's just, maybe you don't know why it doesn't work, but it's not working. Yeah. So the question I often ask is, what really happened? What's the truth? What's the essence? But the problem, as you pointed out, is like the essence has to be under 2 hours, or has to be shorter than the human bladder can, so whatever Hitchcock used to say about that. So yeah, it was a process. I think my one concern I will share that when we started the film was only one. Yep. No, there was a lot of concerns, as you always have going into a project. But one of the main ones from a storytelling perspective was this idea that I think when I first started the project, I mistakenly thought maybe one of the dramatic questions of the film is, will Will and Harper really be close anymore? And in a way, I think anyone who watches the film, I'd be curious to hear your thoughts on this. Within the first few minutes, I think we answer that question. I think you kind of know, they're going to be okay. Yeah. So as a filmmaker, you're kind of left wondering, well, what's the question we're asking? What is the dramatic thrust, the narrative thrust of the film? And the more we filmed and the more we got into it, it's like, well, they are going to be quote unquote okay, but what does it look like? What does that relationship look like? What does the friendship look like on the back half of this? Because Harper's redefining herself and in some ways reaffirming herself that has always been there. But then in what way does Will have a space in there? And what does that look like? Additionally, I think what became clear is we're unpacking Harper's story and her backstory throughout the film. And that is a big question. And lastly, I think this notion that Harper loves America, but she doesn't know if it loves her back now, is an additional question the film is asking. So, while one door closed for a question that I thought was going to be one of them, several others opened as we started to make the film. Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because, like, going into this with Will Ferrell, like, in the back of my mind, I was thinking this is going to be funny. Yeah. He's going to be cracking jokes all the way through, and then there might be something, like, sensitive that sort of happens. But actually, like, I mean, he's always been, like, a very lovable guy, but he does have this, like, he's just a sort of a safe space, I guess, and a support network, and that's such a lovely, like, through line, really, for Harper to kind of find herself
Yeah.
as the story sort of goes on, and that's really like powerful, and also this, I suppose, it's self-acceptance feels to me like the emotional core of the movie.
That's right. Yeah, I think that's very astute, because for me, the most pivotal moment in the entire film is actually about midway through, where we're actually at a dirt racetrack in the middle of Oklahoma, and had just come out of this kind of bar that I think we all had expectations was going to go one way and went the other. And Harper was met with much more acceptance and love than I think any of us, including her, anticipated. And she had this moment where she says, through tears, I think I was afraid of everyone else hating me, and now I think I'm realizing I'm afraid of hating myself. And that, to your point, was at the essence of this story is this universal kind of thing I think all in different ways and different degrees grapple with, is how do I love and accept myself for who I am, and not what others expect of me or what culture has said they expect of me, but what I expect of myself. And so, yeah, in terms of a dramatic narrative question, there's nothing deeper and more profound and dramatic than a question like that, which I know can sound, as we're talking, sort of esoteric and heady, but you sort of see it play out in their conversations in a very real way. And I think to your earlier comment, Will he's I've known him off screen for years, and so I'm very glad that the rest of the world gets to see the incredible friend and caring, warm human being that he is. But what you also see in the film is Harper's bravery, encouraged, as you pointed out, by Will's support, opens the door also for Will to then start to really open up and be vulnerable. And it's just beautiful. It's beautiful to see these two old friends connect and reconnect and open up to each other in a way that, I know they've talked about it, but it's like they've never been this close. Which, for those out there listening, it's like go on a 17-day uninterrupted road trip with someone, and you will inevitably become incredibly close. And
I mean, I know it's like probably going to become like the most used press junket line ever, but I love that bit where Will was sort of saying the hardest thing is to be yourself. Because I mean that applies to him as an actor, but also applies to Harper and that that kind of that whole acceptance thing we were just sort of talking about, because this idea of becoming someone that feels like that's who she is, but then also beneath that the universal thing of like accepting yourself, and that kind of conflict and harmony, finding that through the script was kind of really, really interesting. Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, that's at the core of it, and I think, like you said, they're both grappling with varying degrees of that. I think it's another interesting thing, and Harper and I have had a lot of conversations about this, but when she finally came out, one of the challenges that was so hard about it was also what happens is you start to question, well, what parts of my identity are real and mine versus ones that I created and built up to fit in, to navigate this world. And that can be very confusing and scary, but at the end of the tunnel of that is so enlightening and freeing. So it's really beautiful. But yeah, she's she talks about it at moments in the film where they're at a basketball game and she's questioning. She used to use basketball and going to games as kind of a cover. But through doing that for decades, she started to grow an appreciation for the sport. And here she is, almost comically, but also very genuinely asking herself, do I love this? Is this me? Is this part of my identity or not? And I think she answers that it is in a great way, but she's questioning it in a way I think that's very healthy.
And you to follow on from what you did there, there's another amazing bit in a bar where she's having a conversation about voice and and am I putting on a voice to feel like I fit in, or am I going to do it because it's actually who I am, and that kind of that balance, I guess. And it's I mean, one thing that was really interesting about this is, to me, it felt like I didn't think I was watching a film, and like my favorite documentaries, I feel like I am I didn't feel like I was watching a documentary. I felt like I was watching a film, And my favorite docs are like that.
Yeah.
I felt like I was on a road trip with these people, but it was like a drama.
Yeah.
And it was real. And that's just such a great thing to be able to do, something that's real, but then also really does make you think in a sort of narrative way.
Yeah.
I mean, was that sort of in the forefront of the inception, like to sort of create something that felt a little bit like a film?
A little. I think, what I think probably plays into that also is like visual technique and, and style. True, yeah. And I can be honest with you, I think some people, sometimes get turned off by it. It's like, you hear the word polished or slick but to me, those decisions,
thoughtful.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. The decisions are born out of the story you're trying to tell, not, I want to add production value. I want to make this look good. And the reason, to give an example, it's like, okay, I start thinking about the lensing and the way we shoot this and who I hire as the DP. And I knew that we're going to be out in this American landscape, which is beautiful and vast. And so then you say, okay, I want to shoot it in 240 anamorphic lenses, which gives you an aspect ratio. So it's super widescreen. Which is usually traditionally used in narrative filmmaking. I wanted to use more cinematic. So when I talked to my DP about Will and Harper, I said their relationship is one of grace and kindness and softness. And so we chose these older vintage Cook lenses that have a softer quality to them, that flare out in a way when the sun hits them in a way. And again, it's a bit of a narrative kind of thinking, but it adds an element that to me was telling the story as well through the visuals. Additionally, like I talked a lot about the relationship being full of grace and not wanting to feel that kind of handheld style, which I love and use in a lot of different ways. But here it felt like I wanted to kind of feel as though I was softer and gentler and more graceful. And so I made the decision to shoot with a Steadicam when we were out and moving around in the world. And so all those decisions are born out of the story that I think and how the right way to tell that story.
Definitely, yeah.
But occasionally in a good way for you, it can feel like a film.
Yeah.
Sometimes that can be weirdly becomes a criticism that I don't welcome, but I understand it.
I mean, like, just to talk about the visuals, like these kind of these beautiful sort of sunsets, and I mean, you talked in the Q&A a little bit about setting up these road stops that were beautiful in their own way, but they were just places on the side of a road that felt different, but they had their own beauty. And finding this kind of there's a slight sort of nostalgic but self-reflective kind of beauty rather than like a glossy Hollywood beauty that did sort of reflect this journey of kind of acceptance and loneliness and friendship and the hard sort of moments that the internal conflict kind of was going through for her all those years. And that sort of came across. So I think it amplifies and it never shows off.
I appreciate that. And in fact, you reminded me of another word we used a lot, which was nostalgic. A lot of the journey for Harper and Will on this road trip is going back. They go back to where they first met 30 years ago in New York City at Saturday Night Live. They go back to Harper's childhood home. They go back to a house she bought, which I don't want to give much away, but a few years back. And so it's a reflecting on spaces she had previously been in, but now in a new light as her new self. And so nostalgia is absolutely a feeling that we wanted to make sure was conveyed in the style with which we told the story.
So let's just talk a little bit about how the before we get to the inception of the project, how the balance of comedy versus drama sort of played out, because I mean it's a very funny film, but it's less comedy than you'd expect from a Will Ferrell film. Like, not to say it's not funny,
right?
It's just an engaging drama that has lots of funny moments, but it's not a comedy. And I'm sure there was, I mean, I saw in the end credits there was just so many like gags, and I'm sure he was just being funny like all of the time. Well, both of them actually.
Both of them, yes. Harper's incredibly funny herself.
So how do you find that balance between the narrative sort of beats and the funny moments?
I mean, that was definitely the probably the biggest challenge of the film in a way, and of the edit. When you have that much footage, you can cut the film 500 different ways with hundreds of different tones, and it's just a process of whittling away at the edit, listening for the film to tell you what it wants to be. But ultimately, I think where I realized sort of, maybe midway or a third of the way through the editing process was, they're so funny all the time. Let me let go of that for a minute and actually just put the film together with just what you would call more dramatic, emotional, impactful beats of the story, moments of challenge, moments of discovery, moments of pain, and joy, and then know that I can, once I've got the spine of that kind of story and that journey that they're both on, reintroduce the very organic, because it was happening constantly, comedy of it all, because they're very, very funny, and that is their love language, is comedy. They are, I love the expression that the shortest laughter is the shortest distance between two people. And I think that's very true. It's true for the two of them. That's how they've connected for 3 decades. But I also knew that I wanted that to be a way for an audience to connect with the story in a way that, Will Ferrell's fans and people who love comedy have a way into a story that they maybe wouldn't have thought they would want to watch. But now knowing it's got Will and that it is very funny, and Harper, as she'll tell you, is funnier than Will. Yeah. And I think she's right in a lot of ways. They're a very funny duo. Yeah. But that was really important to me, to get the balance right and to make sure that it also just honor the way they speak. They start with a joke, they find their way into a conversation, it gets deeper and deeper, and then when it gets too serious for too long, they look at each other and they know it's like back to a joke in a wonderful rhythm.
Well, again, I mean, it's kind of that's a kind of a narrative rhythm as well. In like film is to have a light moment, then a darker moment, then a light moment, and a darker moment, but also to spread it out so that the moments that are dramatic really hit and feel real, but also that it's not just a laugh fest the whole time where you're not taking it kind of seriously. Yeah,
well, that's life, right? It's like none of our lives or days are just permanently joyful and happy or permanently sad and tragic. And you also realize, like in filmmaking, but in life, you can't have peaks without valleys. Like they're both required of one another. So to have a high, you've kind of got to have a low, and so that's always a balancing act, I think, for any filmmaker, storyteller, but less so in terms of like manipulating an emotional response, but just replicating life the way it is, which is that's how it works.
And I think one thing that, I mean, again, referencing the Q&A for people that haven't been there, but one thing that you said in the Q&A that was really interesting was not making the film political. Yeah. And I think what makes this such a great story is that, the political side of things is often like taking buzz ideas or buzz themes, or this is something that will shock you, and this is why you should feel strongly on this side of the issue or that issue. Yeah. But what you didn't do any of that in the film, but what you did do is actually show, again, someone that's looking for acceptance. Yeah. And when you look at the whole issue from that side, it's kind of hard to politicize it, really. You just kind of have to approach it from empathy.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I mean, we knew the film would be brought into the political sphere just by the nature of our politics and the current culture, but we certainly didn't want to set out the organics of this concept and this idea of this trip and their friendship. There was really nothing political about it. There wasn't, a larger agenda other than to tell their story. And I think, to your point, through seeing the human side of a cultural topic or a political topic, it strips away. Yeah, I think so much of what what winds up becoming talking points. Yeah, and you go, oh, this is a human being. Yeah, who wants to exist. That's what she's asking to do, is to exist and be seen and recognized for who she is. And where's the conflict? Yeah, right. I mean, why are we having such a hard time with this? So
the steak restaurant. There's a moment where things get a bit hostile with the audience, and then you sort of see some Twitter replies later on. Yeah, and again, like that's like when you're actually watching what's happening inside of that situation, you're like, there's just a person trying to have dinner with their friend and be accepted. Yeah. And then there's this like online hate from people that have never met them or never seen them, and you kind of it feels out of place, and it feels disconnected, and that's obviously what it is. It's manufactured anger towards something without the human element being present.
Yeah, and I think that speaks to certainly why I make films, and why I think lots of us tell stories and make films, is that sometimes we need to be reminded, not sometimes, we need to constantly be reminded of our shared humanity.
Yeah.
And particularly in this modern times where we're unfortunately getting more and more separated and not seeing each other literally, physically, eye to eye in the way that I think we used to. And we're, online, and this conversation online is just so not anonymous, but also just inhuman. We're using terms that are, that are not even recognizing one another as human beings and shared humanity. So the more we can put stories like this, and there's so many others out there to remind us that like we're more alike than we are different. And, what anyone, any people in these communities that feel othered and ostracized feel like, as I was saying earlier, we just want to be, we just want to exist.
Yeah.
And again, I know a lot of people don't maybe know trans people, a trans person directly. That's okay. No harm on you, but then educate yourself, go meet someone. And that's why I was like, part of this is like, once you've watched this film, if you don't know a trans person, now you know Harper, and she's great. She's funny, and she's friends with Will Ferrell, and she's a head writer of SNL, and she's cool, and she's all these wonderful, and she's complicated and complex, and so I hope certainly you always have hopes for your projects and your films, but I hope that this can help in some way shift the culture and hearts and minds of people out there.
Yeah, no, yeah. I think it definitely will. And
yeah.
You tell yourself, no one wants your college-era band tees. But on Depop, people are searching for exactly what you've got. You once paid a small fortune for them at merch stands. Now, a teenager who calls them vintage will offer that same small fortune back. Sell them easily on Depop. Just snap a few photos, and we'll take care of the rest. Who knew your questionable music taste would be a money-making machine? Your style can make you cash. Start selling on Depop, where taste recognizes taste.
Zootopia 2 has come home to Disney Plus.
Let's go!
Get ready for a new case.
We're gonna crack this case and prove we're the greatest partners of all time!
New friends.
You are Gary the Snake. And your last name? The Snake.
Dream Team. New habitats.
Zootopia has a secret reptile population.
You can watch the record-breaking phenomenon at home.
You're clearly working at
Zootopia 2, now available on Disney Plus, rated PG.
Are we getting close to the? Yes, last question. Oh, okay.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean that's also like why I make films. I grew up from films and documentaries that moved me and had a real reason to think about things in life and to make a positive difference.
Yeah,
and it's the biggest joy in the world to see a film along those lines.
Yeah.
So just to wrap up, some classic film advice. Maybe to younger you or going back a few years, or like someone trying to break into the industry and like tell a meaningful story that maybe they're being told by distributors isn't sellable or is the rat run.
Yeah. I always like this question. I wish I always had better advice. I mean, this is an obvious one. You hear it a lot, but it's always bears repeating. Is like, don't listen to those voices. Unfortunately, you've got to listen to the inner voice inside. Don't make something that you think others want to watch. Make the thing that you want to watch.
Yeah.
I think that's really important. And then the other piece of advice I usually give directors specifically is, I think the best, for me at least, always hesitant to give it, this is the rules of cinema. This is how to make a good movie. But I think for directing, I'm a big believer in the notion of strong ideas loosely held. So have a take, have a point of view, surround yourself with people more talented than you, and then let them challenge you and let them bring new ideas to the table, and don't hold on to your ideas so tightly that you don't let other better ideas in. And it's a similar thing as when I make my documentaries. It's like, I can't hold on too tightly to the film I think I'm making, because reality is going to say otherwise. And I have to be open to letting the reality of whatever we're filming happen. Because as I was saying earlier, if you're forcing something, you're going to feel that inauthenticity, and it's not going to connect with people because it's not real, it's not honest. So strong ideas loosely held for directing, but also for documentary making, and probably other. You could apply it to other things, but anyway, that would be my advice.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Well, thanks so much for coming back on the Filmmakers Podcast. Hopefully we'll make a hat trick one of these days.
Yes.
And it sounds like you've got some pretty exciting pie plans for tonight. So
yeah.
I'm always excited by a pie, but that's the most English thing you can do. But
yes, gonna go get some beef Wellington.
Classic.
Cheers. Thanks, Tom.
Bye bye.
That was it. There we have it. That was Dom's chat with Josh Greenbaum. Lovely guy.
Lovely chat.
Lovely guy.
Lovely chat. Lovely guy.
Very nice. Very nice.
We had a meaningful hug at the end, actually. It was,
did you?
I was like, I'll go for the handshake, and it was like, no, this is a hug moment. So,
that's
lovely.
Cool.
I think there was tears in the eyes of the the PR lady that was watching.
Why?
Well, just because
what
it was
happened?
a touching moment.
Oh, I see. Oh, I see.
Yeah.
She was.
No, she wasn't upset at the contact.
Okay, she was like, "Oh my god, what have I done? Why did I do this?"
There was a slightly fun moment. There was a slightly fun moment before the interview where I was changing the batteries, and the little bit of material that holds the batteries in place. Because usually battery change is like a 30-second.
It's a quick pull the material, batteries pop out.
Exactly. Yeah. This time that didn't happen. The material got stuck in the spring, and then because the material got stuck in the spring, it was actually blocking the connection of the battery that went in. So that was pretty exciting. One of those fun, hairy moments. And also, yes. I was doing a recce on a commercial for Joker 2, which Giles kindly got me. On that day, which I'd organised this interview before I'd taken that job, and I said, like, I've got to do the interview. So I was rushing from mid-recce into the interview, then doing the interview, and then running back out again, ran across the bridge, across the Thames, back into the wagon, and met them at the London Eye, and carried on with the thing. So it was
with the recce. That's really cool. That's like the life of a indie filmmaker who's moonlighting as a journalist.
Yes. Journo.
It's like, just 1 minute, I'm in the middle of doing this Joker prep for Joker 2.
But I wasn't going to turn down a meeting with Josh again, so yeah.
No, you can't. And what a great interview. I hope you enjoyed that. If you did, do go on our socials and give it some love. Just like it, share it, say that was really cool. And it really does mean something. And actually, it just gives you content to put on your socials. Looking for something to put on, put this on. Literally go, I really enjoyed that episode with a picture of the Filmmakers Podcast. Go on, do it now.
Yeah, you can do that, and you can learn how to be like Josh, who's a likable. You can see how he succeeds because he's likable. And obviously he sort of knows what he's doing. And I'd also say, like, watch this if you don't really have any sort of trans friends, and maybe you haven't really dipped into the whole debates and furore in the political world. Maybe just watch this film and give yourself a chance to see it from a really interesting perspective that will certainly make you think about the whole thing.
Yeah, Will and Harper on Netflix now. You might even still be able to catch it in select cinemas. Let's talk about documentary filmmaking then. It is one of these things that it crept up on me. I was never intending to make documentaries. It wasn't something I went, I must do this. This is part of my... I was always kind of like wanting to make feature films, or that was my journey. And obviously feature films are documentaries too, but scripted, that was my vibe.
Yeah.
And then I can't really remember. I think this might have been before I made The Dare. And I was making a load of brand media, mini docs with this company, and they said, listen, we've got this documentary we're making on the World of Darkness, which is a role-playing game similar to Dungeons and Dragons.
No, Dungeons and Dragons.
Similar to Dungeons... Yeah, very, very similar to Dungeons and Dragons in a way, but with vampires and mages, and it was very much, I believe, the first one that they dressed up and went round and played these characters out. Yep. So they said, do you want to direct this documentary? Well, of course, you get to direct a feature documentary, and they wanted someone who didn't know anything about that world, who could see it from a totally different viewpoint. I found it fascinating. I found it amazing to go and you just interview people and go, okay, well, these are the questions I need to get from them in terms of that can fit there, this bit can go in the middle, and this bit can go in the end.
Yeah.
So you'd sort of write it all out as a whole piece, like a feature film, but you didn't know what they were going to say. So you kind of had this, like, okay, well, hopefully they'll say something about that. We'll guide them to try and say something about that. And the whole time you're then going around trying to get other footage and information to get in there and try and get the best interviews with the best people. I found it fascinating. I really enjoyed it. I think the edit process is a totally different beast. But,
it is.
Yeah, what do you think?
It is. I think you're right, and I think it is a totally. I mean, you sort of hit on. I think there was. I can't remember the statistic. I think Josh might have mentioned it in the interview, but it's it was hundreds of hours of footage. But it's different ways around the exact same thing, which is kind of structuring, and it's storytelling, and it's like, what is the core of the story? Because when you see a really good documentary like this, it is as tight as a narrative script. It has beats and developments and character arcs and all this kind of stuff. It has a beginning, it has a middle, and it has an end. And it does even have like the sort of Dark Night of the Soul type moments as well. If you look at this one in particular, it does sort of almost follow that that trajectory in a sense. So it's just looking at things from a completely different angle and kind of getting into a similar territory at the end, with a whole load of research. In a different place. Yeah,
archive footage. So for Old Town Aren't We, our documentary on Grimsby Town Football Club, I had to basically, my job, most of it was, because I wasn't really on set, so it was pretty much archive footage. So you're getting footage from the games, and then you're getting footage from years back, and you're trying to find where this footage came from, who owned a song, who owned this, so you're spending so much time researching. Not someone else is making it, you're kind of there facilitating that. So that was a different way of making a documentary as well, and trying to get deals on all that, because at the end of the day it's just someone's property, and you could ask for $5,000, you could ask for 500. It really just depends on how much. I remember negotiating one. It took 6 months to negotiate on the price. 6 months of me negotiating from the start to the end. I've finally got a great deal on this song. It was just crazy. But the same with footage. I got deals with Pathé and BBC and ITV because it just kept going. I just kept asking. I said, listen, can we do it, Les? Please. Becoming friends with them, hoped they liked football, and I got them to watch the film, all that. Please, can you give us the footage? It will make it really cool. Sometimes it's not their decision, but I found that was just fascinating to dive into that world, and music rights and all that kind of stuff. It's just, oh God, it's not kind of what you set out as a filmmaker to do.
No.
It's important. It's important as well. And I'm doing it now with the latest one, Food for Thought. We're going to announce on the 4th of October what is happening with the film, and finally we've got there. Finally, we've done. It's been a long old journey, that one. Getting the rights, footage, all sorts, going around the world, interviewing people. It's basically about the environment, plant-based living, and animal welfare. So it's something that's close to my heart, something I really care about. So it's how can I get this movie out? More importantly than making any money on it, it is about, how can we help people, maybe help themselves in some way. So it's been a journey, me and Dan Richardson doing it, but we've got there, and I can't wait to, sometimes it's like you can't wait to get it off the table, and in a way it's like, look, it's done, please, can we just push this out? So I've me and Dan said, let's just force it through, let's force a release date, let's make this happen. Otherwise you're just going to be sitting on it going, oh well, one day, and now we have to do it because we're announcing. It's like, oh my God, we've got to do everything, get the cinema release and all that kind of stuff. You just got to go for it, got to move forward. So fascinating, interesting. But yes, documentaries I like it, especially if it's something you care about.
That's
as
it.
well. I think that helps.
And some of the documentaries I've seen recently have been like the most, I think this and the one I mentioned, Ibelin, have been some of the most tearjerker, real dark, not dark night of the soul, real soul searching, stories. So I think documentaries are changing as well, and they are the blur between narrative and documentary is ever shrinking. And I think there is a lot of scope to make really cinematic documentaries now, even if you aren't as interested in just doing the sort of talking head interview style anymore.
Yeah, totally agree. I think documentaries have blown up massively in the last 5 years, and mainly due to the fact that there was a lockdown.
Especially the one on balloons.
Oh, no, you shoot on Oppenheimer would have been a better one, but and it's mainly because of lockdown, and it's mainly because people don't mind watching something in a different language now. You know, the subtitles thing on Netflix and us sitting down and watching stuff has opened up documentaries in a huge way.
Yeah.
The bottom of the market's dropped out a little bit now, I'd say. Certainly 2 years ago, 3 years ago, it was big. You could sell your doc for quite a lot of money. Now it's, it's gone the other way. But it's a huge surge in popularity. Everyone loves them. I love them. I love watching documentaries. I think it's amazing on the planet, on football, whatever it is. I do enjoy them. I've got into American football massively now because of the documentaries on American football.
Yeah, okay.
It says a lot. It says a lot. Some huge documentaries that came out recently were The Social Dilemma, a couple of My Octopus Teacher, David Attenborough, Life on Our Planet. Billie Eilish is one. If you haven't seen that, it's great, by the way. The world's a little blurry.
Beckham.
Miss Americana. Got what? Beckham documentary was fantastic. I love the Beckham doc.
Yeah.
Oh, it's just reliving all those days. Yeah, it's classic. Anyway, and sometimes it's a bit easy is the wrong word, but you don't need a whole crew. You can just go out with a camera and film a documentary. You can make a feature film.
You're right, because the time spent can come in post. So if you're dedicated enough, and you can get people's permission, there isn't that like, oh, I've got to convince 10 crew and feed everyone vibe.
Exactly.
Necessarily. Yes. It depends on what scale you're mounting it, but you can do things with time versus as opposed to money more.
Absolutely, yeah. You don't need. No one's clamoring for you to deliver your documentary either. Whereas if it's a feature film, there's a very different flow. This is the time you are to shoot it. This is the time you have to edit it. This is the schedule for release. With a documentary, well, it could take 4 or 5 years, longer sometimes, because you've got to put it all together. Decades. It takes ages because the editing. It's not like you're following a narrative and the editor can go, oh, this is the narrative. You could go anywhere. You could change it. Do this, and my first edit of this is so totally different of Food for Thought than the final edit. It's just so different. So anyway, it's something that you can go do if you've got a story. If you've got a story you want to tell, and actually a lot of filmmakers do, and people often come up to us and go, oh, this would make a good story. Think about it, maybe go, do you know what, should I do a documentary of this first? Because then you've got IP for one, and then you could turn it into a feature film, a narrative story driven scripted feature or TV series. But documentaries are definitely a way to go. If you've got a camera, you've got a story. You don't have to be a great cameraman, because I shot all of Food for Thought.
Yeah, and terrible cameraman.
There was the amount of days I'd have the camera on my shoulders. I was asking questions of telling Dan that, but he was brilliant at this, by the way. But I was still chucking things in.
Dan was on his shoulders the other half of it.
Yeah, and I have the rucksack on, and in the back is the H6 with the sound levels, and I'm over my shoulder sort of going, yeah, that's probably a bit loud, and the headphones in my ears, and then trying to get focus. Of course the camera work's shoddy, and plus it's a documentary. People don't mind as much, but we still did it. I'm really proud of what we've done. I can't wait to get it out there, but at the same time, no one expects it to be Oscar-winning cinematography. Just tell your story and get it released.
I mean, Just get it released. To be fair, Will and Harper's cinematography is pretty good.
Yeah. I mean, look, they've got a bit of money. They've got
they do. Yeah. It's on Netflix.
Slightly different,
but you've done just as well in your own way. So
thank you, Tom. Anyway, we'll be announcing that next week, and then I'll talk about it from then on, and hopefully you will support me when it comes out, because this is very much a self-released film.
Like a pair of braces.
And I'll talk about, and I will talk about why in a future episode. But for now, go watch Will and Harper, go support Josh Greenbaum, support filmmaking any way you can, and if you like something, tell the world. Go on the IMDb's, go on the Amazon, and just click 5-star. It's not hard, or 4-star, or whatever you want to put on IMDb. Don't ever do 10 on IMDb. It doesn't mean anything. It has to be 9 or 8. I don't know. There's some sort of algorithm thing going on.
Yeah.
But do that. It really is important. And do it with the podcast. If you like this and you've not gone on IMDb or any of it, just go and give it a 5-star. Why not?
Yeah.
Or 4, whatever you want to give it. Don't give it 4. It's just annoying. But we do this for nothing.
Yeah.
For nothing.
Free. Yeah. free.
For so many years.
Just for the love of meeting good filmmakers.
Exactly. Like Josh Greenbaum, and you
Yeah.
become hugging friends.
Yeah.
And that means everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
We've got some amazing episodes coming up for you, including a new Business of Film episode. Planning that. We can't tell you what it's about, but it's going to be super exciting. And we've got some amazing guests.
Yeah,
all
some
coming up
more ludicrous
for you.
award season films on the horizon.
On the horizon. Thank you for listening. Honestly, it really does mean a lot. Thank you.
No, thank you.
No, thank you. We will see you next Tuesday, as always. And if you are lucky enough to rise up and make a documentary, make a feature film, make a TV series, whatever it is, and do well, it is your duty to
send the archive mobile back down.
I like that. Okay, cool. We will see you then. Take care, Dom. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Giles.
Bye, everyone. Bye.
There's a new way to Sweet Green. Meet Wraps. Handheld, hearty, and made for life on the move. With bold, chef-crafted flavors, fresh ingredients, and over 40 grams of protein, they're built to satisfy without slowing you down. Try Wraps today in the app or at order.sweetgreen.com. Available at all participating locations.